The scream of tires cut through the quiet street as a black sedan slid to a hard stop in front of the church. Inside, the organ music faltered. Amara Okoye's fingers tightened around the bouquet as murmurs rippled through the pews. Her heart was already racing, but something sharper, instinct, dread, clawed up her spine. She hadn't even turned yet when the church doors burst open with a heavy bang that echoed off the marble walls. Boots struck the aisle. Slow. Measured. Every head turned. A man in a black suit stepped inside like he owned the air itself. Tall. Broad-shouldered. His face was calm in a way that felt unnatural, his dark eyes scanning the room with cold precision. Two other men followed, stopping just inside the doors, silent and watchful. Amara's breath caught in her throat. She knew that walk. The groom stiffened beside her. His confident smile vanished as color drained from his face. His hand slipped from hers. The man's gaze locked onto Amara, and for a split second, the world narrowed to just the two of them. Her chest tightened painfully. Memories crashed over her, quiet offices, late nights, his voice low and controlled, the way he never looked at her too long. Seung-ho stopped halfway down the aisle. "Stop the wedding," he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried, slicing cleanly through the room. The priest froze. Guests gasped. Someone dropped a phone. The groom found his voice first. "Who the hell are you?" His words shook despite his effort to sound firm. Seung-ho didn't even look at him. Amara swallowed. Her knees felt weak. "Seung-ho," she whispered before she could stop herself. His eyes softened just enough to hurt. "Amara." The groom followed her gaze, panic flaring. "You know him?" She didn't answer. Her father, seated in the front row, shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting between Seung-ho and the groom. Seung-ho finally turned to face the man at the altar. "This wedding is over. You can't just walk in here and—" "I can," Seung-ho interrupted calmly. "And I just did." The groom laughed nervously. "You think this is some kind of joke?" "Security." "They won't come," Seung-ho said. "I paid them to leave." A hush fell over the church, thick and suffocating. Seung-ho's eyes returned to Amara. "You don't belong here." Her fingers trembled around the bouquet. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered back, her voice cracking. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," he said. "You're being sold." Her father shot to his feet. "That's enough," he snapped. "This is my daughter." "You stopped being her father the moment you put a price on her," Seung-ho said without looking at him. Amara's heart pounded painfully. "Please," she said, turning to Seung-ho, panic spilling over. "You're making things worse." Seung-ho took another step closer. "I'm ending them." The groom lunged forward, fury breaking through fear. "You don't know who you're dealing with." Seung-ho finally smiled, slow and cold. "I know exactly who you are." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a slim folder, tossing it onto the altar. Papers slid out, bank transfers, photos, signatures. The groom's face crumpled. "You tied her marriage to a syndicate deal," Seung-ho continued. "Her family's debt. Her mother's treatment. All leverage. Sloppy." Amara stared at the papers, nausea rolling through her. "What is he talking about?" she demanded, turning to her father. Her father's eyes dropped. Her chest burned. "You promised me," she whispered. "You said this was just about money." "It is," he muttered. "Everything is." The groom grabbed Amara's arm. "Don't listen to him." Seung-ho moved so fast Amara barely registered it. 1 second the groom was touching her, the next, he was slammed back against the altar, Seung-ho's hand gripping his collar. "Don't touch my wife," Seung-ho said. The word hit Amara like a blow. "I'm not." "I will marry her instead," Seung-ho said, louder now, his voice echoing through the church. Gasps erupted. The groom went still, terror flooding his eyes. "You can't," he whispered. You know what that means. I do, Seung-ho replied. It means you walk away alive. Seung-ho released him and turned back to Amara. His gaze searched her face, softer now, almost pleading. I should have stopped this sooner. Her throat tightened. You left, she said, pain breaking through her anger. You let me go. I thought I was saving you, he said quietly. I was wrong. Her mother's pale face flashed in her mind. Hospital monitors. Bills stacked high. Threats whispered over phone calls. You don't get to decide my life, Amara said, tears burning her eyes. Not you. Not him. Not anyone. Seung-ho nodded once. Then decide. He reached into his pocket and placed a document on the altar beside the scattered papers. Her family's debt is cleared, he said to the groom. Your accounts are frozen. By tomorrow, you'll have nothing. The groom stared at the document, shaking. You'll start a war. Seung-ho leaned in close. I already did. Silence swallowed the room. Amara looked at the contract, then at Seung-ho. If I say no, she whispered, what happens? I still end the deal, he said. I still keep your family safe. And I walk away. Her breath hitched. Why? His jaw tightened. Because loving you was never about owning you. The weight of every choice pressed down on her chest. She looked at the groom, at the man who would cage her, and then at Seung-ho, the man whose world was soaked in danger but whose eyes held only truth. Her voice shook as she spoke. This doesn't make us a love story. No, Seung-ho said. It makes us a shield. She closed her eyes. Then she nodded. I'll marry you. The church didn't erupt the way Amara expected. There was no shouting, no dramatic collapse into chaos, just stunned silence, thick and heavy, like everyone was afraid to breathe wrong. The groom stood frozen, lips parted, eyes locked on Seung-ho as if he were staring at death itself. Amara could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears, each thud echoing the words she'd just spoken. I'll marry you. She wasn't even sure when she'd decided. Maybe she hadn't decided at all. Maybe survival had spoken for her. Seung-ho didn't smile. He only inclined his head slightly, like he was acknowledging a pact far older than the moment itself. Then he turned to the priest. You may proceed, he said calmly. The priest stared at him, speechless. With us, Seung-ho added. That's impossible. Amara's father burst out. He pushed himself out of the pew, face flushed with panic and rage. You think you can just replace the groom? This wedding is a contract. Seung-ho's gaze flicked to him, sharp and warning. Yes, he said. And the terms have changed. Amara turned toward her father, pain slicing through her chest. You knew, she said softly. Didn't you? He avoided her eyes. I did what I had to do. No, she whispered. You did what benefited you. Her mother stirred weakly in her seat, confusion clouding her face. Amara, what's happening? Amara forced herself to breathe. She walked over, knelt in front of her mother, and took her trembling hands. I'm okay, she lied gently. I promise. Seung-ho's men moved with quiet efficiency. One whispered into the priest's ear. Another guided guests toward the exits, offering polite smiles that didn't reach their eyes. No one resisted. Everyone could feel it, this was no ordinary interruption. This was power rewriting the rules in real time. The groom backed away slowly. You think you've won, he said hoarsely. But you've only made things worse for her. Seung-ho didn't look at him. Leave, he said. Now. The groom hesitated, then turned and fled, his expensive shoes echoing loudly as he ran down the aisle and out the doors. The sound lingered long after he was gone. The ceremony ended without vows, without applause. When Amara stepped outside, the sunlight felt unreal, too bright for the storm inside her chest. A sleek convoy waited by the curb. Seung-ho opened the back door of the sedan himself. You don't have to get in, he said quietly. She met his gaze. You promised me a choice. I meant it. She glanced back at the church, at her father arguing with one of Seung-ho's men, at her mother being gently helped into another car. Then she looked forward again. Then I choose not to be alone, she said. She slid into the car. The door closed with a final, heavy click. Inside, silence stretched between them as the car pulled away. Amara stared out the window, watching the city blur past, her thoughts racing. Everything had happened so fast. An hour ago, she had been walking toward a life she dreaded. Now she was married, almost, to the most dangerous man she had ever known. You're angry, Seung-ho said finally. She laughed softly, bitter. That's one word for it. I won't apologize for stopping the wedding. I wouldn't accept it, she replied. But don't mistake this for gratitude. His lips twitched faintly. I wouldn't dare. She turned to face him. Why now? Why show up today? His jaw tightened. Because I didn't know until yesterday. Her brows furrowed. You didn't know about my family? I knew they were struggling, he said. I didn't know they were being hunted. Her stomach dropped. Hunted? The syndicate behind the groom doesn't let assets walk away, Seung-ho said evenly. And you were the asset. Fear curled cold and tight in her chest. So marrying you makes me, what? Untouchable? For now, he said. And for as long as I'm alive. She exhaled shakily. That's not comforting. It's honest. The car slowed as tall iron gates came into view. Guards stepped forward, scanning the convoy before the gates swung open. The estate beyond was massive, secluded, guarded from every angle. This is where you live? Amara asked quietly. It's where I survive, he replied. Inside, the house was sleek and minimalist, cold in its perfection. Amara felt suddenly small, like she had stepped into a world that could swallow her whole. A woman approached, bowing slightly. Sir. This is Amara, Seung-ho said. She has my authority. The woman's eyes widened, then she nodded. Yes, sir. Amara followed Seung-ho up a wide staircase, her heart pounding. You don't have to announce it like that, she muttered. He paused, turning to face her. They need to know you're protected. She crossed her arms. I don't want to be feared. I know, he said quietly. But until this is over, fear keeps you breathing. They reached a bedroom, spacious, elegant, impersonal. You'll stay here, he said. There's security outside at all times. And you? She asked. I'll be down the hall. She frowned. We're supposed to be married. This marriage isn't a cage, he said firmly. It's a shield. You decide when, or if, it becomes anything else. Her chest tightened unexpectedly. She hadn't realized how much she needed to hear that. That night, sleep refused to come. Amara lay staring at the ceiling, every sound setting her nerves on edge. Memories of her old life, her dreams, clashed violently with the reality she now occupied. A soft knock sounded at the door. She sat up. Yes? Seung-ho stepped inside, his jacket gone, sleeves rolled up. He looked human, in a way she wasn't prepared for. I wanted to tell you, he said quietly, my people confirmed it. The groom syndicate is furious. Her stomach clenched. What does that mean? It means they'll come for me, he said. And for you. She swallowed hard. Then why drag me into this? He met her gaze, something raw flickering in his eyes. Because letting you face it alone would have destroyed me. For a moment, the walls between them trembled. Amara drew a shaky breath. You loved me, she said softly. Yes. Past tense? He hesitated. I don't know how to love safely. She nodded slowly. Then don't promise me safety, she said. Promise me truth. He inclined his head. Always. As he turned to leave, Amara's voice stopped him. Seung-ho. Yes? If I survive this, she said quietly, I want my life back. My choices. My voice. He looked at her over his shoulder. Then I'll spend the rest of mine making sure you can. The door closed softly behind him. And for the first time since the church, Amara cried, not from fear, but from the terrifying realization that the man who had just married her might be the only one who had ever truly seen her. Morning came with the low hum of generators and the distant murmur of voices speaking into earpieces. Amara woke slowly, disoriented, her body tense before her mind caught up. For a brief second, she expected the familiar cracked ceiling of her old apartment, the smell of antiseptic from the hospital clinging to her clothes. Then she remembered. The wedding. The interruption. The words that changed everything. I will marry her instead. She sat up, rubbing her face, her fingers trembling. The room was flooded with soft light filtering through sheer curtains. Everything was too perfect, too controlled, like a place designed to keep chaos out at all costs. And yet chaos had followed her anyway. A knock sounded, firmer this time. Come in, she said. The same woman from the night before entered, carrying a tray. Breakfast, she said respectfully. And your phone. Amara's heart skipped. My phone? Yes. Sir had it retrieved. She took the phone with shaking hands. Dozens of missed calls. Messages. Her father. Distant relatives. Unknown numbers. Fear and anger twisted together in her chest. Is my mother okay? Amara asked. She's resting, the woman replied. Doctors arrived early this morning. Relief crashed over her so hard her knees weakened. Thank you. When the woman left, Amara scrolled through the messages. Most were demands. Accusations. But one message froze her. From her father. You've ruined everything. Her lips pressed together as tears burned behind her eyes. No, she whispered. You ruined me. She put the phone down before she could type something she'd regret. A short while later, Seung-ho knocked and entered without waiting for an answer. He wore a dark shirt, sleeves rolled up again, his expression unreadable. You didn't eat, he said, glancing at the untouched tray. I wasn't hungry, she replied. You need to be. I've needed a lot of things I didn't get, she shot back. He nodded, accepting the blow without defense. We have a problem. Her shoulders stiffened. Of course we do. The groom syndicate sent a message at dawn, he said. They want you returned. Her stomach twisted violently. Returned, she repeated. Like property. Yes. And you, she asked quietly. They won't get you. How? Seung-ho studied her face, as if measuring how much truth she could bear. Violence if necessary. She stood abruptly. No. He blinked, surprised. No? I won't be the reason people die, she said firmly. I won't become that kind of wife. He held her gaze. You didn't choose this war. Maybe not, she said. But I won't hide behind you while you fight it. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Seung-ho exhaled slowly. You're not like the women in my world. I never wanted to be, she replied. That's why I loved you, he said, before he could stop himself. The words hung between them, fragile and dangerous. She turned away first. Then don't turn me into a weapon or an excuse. I won't, he said. But you need to understand the rules if you're going to survive this. Then teach me, she said. Not as your wife. As your equal. Something shifted in his expression, respect, sharp and undeniable. Very well. The lesson began that afternoon. He didn't teach her how to shoot or fight. He taught her how power moved. Who controlled what? Which alliances mattered? Which enemy smiled before they struck? She listened, asked questions, challenged him when something didn't sit right. You hesitate when you talk about your father, she said at one point. He's no longer relevant, Seung-ho replied. That's not an answer. He paused. Blood makes people weak. Or human, she countered. Later that evening, chaos erupted. Gunfire cracked through the air, sharp and sudden. Amara flinched as alarms blared. Seung-ho moved instantly, pulling her behind him as guards flooded the hallway. They're inside the perimeter, someone shouted. Adrenaline surged through her veins. You said this place was secure. It is, Seung-ho said grimly. That doesn't mean it's untouchable. Explosions rocked the far wing of the estate. Smoke curled through the air, acrid and choking. Seung-ho pushed a gun into a guard's hands and turned to Amara. Stay with me, he said. I am, she replied, her voice shaking but firm. They moved through corridors that no longer felt like shelter but like a battlefield. Amara's heart pounded as bullets shattered glass and men shouted orders in languages she didn't understand. A blast knocked her off her feet. She cried out as she hit the floor, pain searing through her shoulder. Amara. Seung-ho dropped beside her instantly, his hands gentle but urgent. Can you move? I think so, she gasped. Blood soaked into her sleeve. His jaw tightened, rage flickering dangerously. They crossed a line. She grabbed his wrist. Don't lose yourself. His eyes met hers, dark and burning. You are the only thing keeping me human right now. Guards dragged them into a reinforced room as the battle raged outside. The door sealed shut with a heavy clang, plunging them into tense silence broken only by distant gunfire. Amara slid down the wall, breathing hard. This is what loving you looks like, she said bitterly. Hiding while people try to kill us. Seung-ho knelt in front of her, tearing fabric to bind her wound. This is what protecting you looks like, he said. And what about when this is over, she demanded. Will you let me go then? His hands stilled. I plan to, he said quietly. The words hit her harder than the explosion. You plan to, she repeated slowly. Yes. So this marriage, she said, voice trembling, was temporary to you. It was meant to save you, he said urgently. Not trap you. She laughed, sharp and broken. Do you have any idea what it feels like to be passed from one plan to another? Pain flashed across his face. Amara. You don't get to decide my freedom alone, she said, standing despite the pain. Not again. Silence crashed down between them. Outside, the gunfire slowly faded. Inside, something far more dangerous had shattered. She turned away from him, tears spilling freely now. If you ever let me go, she said quietly, it will be because I choose it. Not because you think it's best. He swallowed hard. Then stay, he said. Not as a shield. Not as a sacrifice. She hesitated, heart aching. I don't know if I can love a man who's always ready to disappear. I don't know how to stay without destroying you, he admitted. For the first time, neither of them had an answer. And somewhere beyond the sealed door, the consequences of their choices were already closing in. The silence after the attack felt heavier than the gunfire itself. When the reinforced door finally opened, smoke drifted in first, then the sharp scent of blood and burned metal. Guards moved with grim efficiency, reporting casualties in low voices. Amara listened without looking up, her back against the wall, her injured shoulder throbbing in time with her pulse. Seung-ho stood a few feet away, hands clenched at his sides. He hadn't moved closer since her last words. The distance between them felt wider than the hallway outside. It's over, one of the men said. For now. For now. The words echoed ominously. A medic rushed in, fussing over Amara's wound. She barely reacted as it was cleaned and bandaged. Her thoughts were elsewhere, on Seung-ho's confession, on the truth she hadn't known she was walking into. A temporary wife. A temporary life. When they were alone again, Seung-ho spoke quietly. Your mother has been moved to a secure facility. She's stable. Relief flickered through her chest, then faded. Good. And your father, he added carefully. He's causing problems. Amara let out a bitter laugh. That's his specialty. He contacted the syndicate, Seung-ho said. Told them where to find you. The words landed like a slap. Amara stood abruptly, dizziness washing over her. No, she whispered. He wouldn't. He did. Her chest tightened painfully. Why? Money, Seung-ho said simply. And fear. Something inside her cracked open. She turned away, pressing her palm to her mouth as a sob tore free. I gave up everything for him, she said hoarsely. My future. My dignity. Seung-ho took a step toward her, then stopped, uncertain. I'll handle him. No, she snapped, spinning around. You won't kill my father. I wasn't going to, he said. But he cannot remain near you. Then cut him off, she said. Expose him. Take away his power. Let him live with what he's done. Seung-ho studied her, something dark and approving in his gaze. You're harsher than you think. I'm tired, she said. Of being gentle with people who break me. That night, sleep was impossible. Amara paced her room, every shadow stretching into something threatening. Near dawn, exhaustion finally dragged her down, but peace didn't follow. When she woke again, the house felt different. Quieter. Tighter. Seung-ho was waiting for her in the living area, jacket on, expression locked down. We need to talk. Her stomach sank. About what? About the fact that they won't stop, he said. The syndicate lost face. They'll keep coming. And you'll keep fighting, she said flatly. Yes. And I'll keep hiding, she added. No, he said firmly. You'll be moved. Her head snapped up. Moved where? Out of the country, he said. Somewhere safe. Her hands curled into fists. You're sending me away. I'm keeping you alive. You're deciding again, she shot back. Over my head. He exhaled sharply. This isn't about control. It's about survival. Then why does it feel like abandonment, she demanded. His eyes darkened. Because you're asking me to choose between loving you and protecting you. And you think those are different things, she said softly. They are in my world. She shook her head. Then your world is broken. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then a phone buzzed on the table. Seung-ho glanced at it, jaw tightening. What is it? Amara asked. They have your father, he said. Her breath caught. What? The syndicate, he continued. They took him to force my hand. Shock warred with anger. After everything he's done. They want a trade, Seung-ho said. You. No, she said instantly. I won't allow it, he agreed. But you're thinking about it, she said, reading his face. I'm thinking about all outcomes, he said carefully. Her voice dropped. If I walk into that room, they'll never let me leave. I know. Then promise me, she said, stepping closer. Promise me you won't use me as bait. His silence was answer enough. Her heart sank. So this is it, she whispered. I was never meant to stay. Pain flashed across his face. Amara. She raised a hand. Don't. She turned and walked back to her room, her chest burning. Behind her, she heard something shatter. Later that evening, the estate erupted again, not with gunfire, but with urgency. Guards ran. Phones rang. Orders flew. Amara emerged to find Seung-ho pacing like a caged animal. They're moving your father, he said. We have one chance. She stepped forward. Then take it. He froze. No. I'll go, she said. On my terms. This is exactly what they want. And they'll get less than they expect, she said fiercely. You taught me how power works, remember? He stared at her. This could kill you. So could waiting, she shot back. At least this way, I choose. The room went still. Finally, Seung-ho nodded once, tightly. Then we do it together. The exchange took place in an abandoned warehouse by the docks. Fog curled thick and low, swallowing sound. Amara stepped out of the car beside Seung-ho, her heart hammering but her spine straight. Men emerged from the shadows. Armed. Smiling. Her father was shoved forward, bruised and shaking. When he saw her, his face crumpled. Amara. She didn't move toward him. You sold me, she said coldly. And now you want me to save you? He sobbed. I was afraid. So was I, she replied. Every day. The syndicate leader stepped forward. Lovely reunion, he said. Now, the bride. Seung-ho moved instantly, gun raised. This ends now. The leader laughed. Does it? A dozen guns clicked into place. Amara took a step forward. Wait. Seung-ho's head snapped toward her. Don't. I said don't, she repeated, louder, eyes on the syndicate leader. You want leverage? Look at me. She lifted her chin. But if I die here, you lose everything. The war you're so desperate to win? You won't survive it. The man studied her, intrigued. You underestimate me, he said. No, she replied steadily. You underestimate him. She glanced at Seung-ho. For the first time, he didn't look like a monster or a savior. He looked like a man who loved her. And that was the most dangerous weapon of all. The fog thickened, swallowing the edges of the warehouse as if the night itself was holding its breath. The syndicate leader's gaze flicked between Amara and Seung-ho, a slow smile spreading across his face. Love, he said thoughtfully. That's always the crack in the armor. Amara didn't flinch. You wanted leverage, she said. You have it. But you're standing on a cliff you can't see. Seung-ho stepped closer to her, his presence solid at her side. This ends with you walking away, he said coldly. Or not walking at all. The leader laughed, sharp and ugly. You think you scare me? I know I do, Seung-ho replied. A tense second stretched. Guns remained raised. Men waited for a signal. Then sirens wailed in the distance, faint at first, then growing louder. The syndicate leader's smile faltered. What did you do? Amara exhaled slowly. I chose. Floodlights snapped on around the warehouse, blinding white beams cutting through the fog. Shouts erupted. Chaos followed, men scrambling, orders shouted in panic. Seung-ho moved instantly, pulling Amara behind him as his men surged forward. The syndicate's formation broke under the pressure, discipline crumbling in the face of exposure they hadn't expected. Within minutes, it was over. The leader was dragged away, screaming threats that rang hollow now. Amara's father collapsed to his knees, sobbing. Amara stared at him, her chest tight but her voice steady. I'm done saving you. He looked up at her, eyes red and empty. I'm sorry. I know, she said softly. But sorry doesn't undo what you broke. Seung-ho's men took him away, not roughly, but firmly. When they were gone, the night fell quiet again, broken only by the distant sirens fading into the dark. Amara sagged, the adrenaline draining from her body all at once. Seung-ho caught her before she could fall. It's over, he murmured. She laughed weakly. You've said that before. This time, he said, it's true. They returned to the estate under a sky slowly lightening with dawn. Exhaustion settled deep into Amara's bones, but beneath it was something unfamiliar, relief. Days passed without attacks. No threats. No shadows moving too close. The war had ended not with bloodshed, but with exposure and collapse. the syndicate fractured. The groom vanished from every network that mattered. And Seung-ho changed. He stopped hovering. Stopped deciding for her. When she spoke, he listened. When she pushed back, he didn't pull harder, he adjusted. One evening, they stood on the balcony overlooking the city, lights glittering like distant stars. "You were going to send me away," Amara said quietly. "Yes," he admitted. "And now?" He turned to face her fully. "Now I'm asking." "Asking what?" "If you'll stay," he said. "Not because you're afraid. Not because you owe me. But because you want to." Her heart tightened. "And if I say no?" "Then I'll let you go," he said without hesitation. "And I'll live with it." She searched his face, looking for the man who once hid behind power and plans. What she saw instead was someone bare and waiting. "You know," she said slowly, "I spent so long being traded between men who thought they knew what was best for me." "I know," he said. "And somewhere along the way," she continued, "I stopped believing I could choose love without losing myself." She stepped closer. "But you didn't take my voice. You gave it back." Seung-ho's breath hitched. "So here's my choice," Amara said. "I stay. On my terms. I build my life. I protect my mother. I speak when I want, leave when I want, and love only if I'm free to walk away." He nodded once, solemn. "Then stay." She smiled faintly. "You don't even know the rest." His eyes softened. "Tell me." "I don't want to be hidden," she said. "I don't want to be your weakness." He shook his head gently. "You're not my weakness." She raised a brow. "You said I was." "I was wrong," he said. "You're my anchor." Something warm spread through her chest. She reached for his hand, not because she needed him, but because she wanted him. Below them, the city moved on, unaware of the war that had nearly claimed them both. In the weeks that followed, Amara reclaimed pieces of herself she thought were lost forever. She returned to work, on her own terms. She visited her mother freely. She laughed more. She slept without fear. And Seung-ho learned how to stay. Not as a shadow. Not as a savior. But as a man standing beside a woman who chose him. One quiet night, as rain tapped softly against the windows, Amara rested her head against his shoulder. "Do you regret interrupting the wedding?" she asked. He smiled, rare and real. "Every day." She pulled back, startled. "What?" "I regret not doing it sooner," he said. She laughed, shaking her head. "You're impossible." "And you," he replied, "are the only reason I survived myself." She looked at him then, not as the Mafia boss, not as the man who rewrote her fate, but as her husband, in the only way that mattered. Chosen. And somewhere, in the ruins of deals and debts and fear, a woman who was once sold stood free, because when the world tried to take everything from her, she chose herself, and love met her there. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments, because sometimes, the most dangerous love stories are the ones where a woman finally gets to choose. The end.